God, this is weird, isn't it? It's been about 2 years or something like that since I made a tutorial video. As you can see, things have changed. Noticeably, I've lost a bit of weight. I'm also now, to the disappointment of some people, I am in fact now a Mac owner. You can see it there, that's a Mac Pro. And I'm also in a completely different environment. I now actually have the space to do these videos. And also I don't have to worry about noise because I haven't got any neighbours close by or anything like that. So I don't have to worry about making too much noise in the middle of the night. So I can do something like this. Oh! And I don't have to particularly care. So anyway, and you'll notice the audio should be miles beyond what it was in the past. I mean, I bought that lavalier kit, and it was okay, it did the job, but it just wasn't that great. So as you can see, I've got the home producer's kit, essentially. I've got a Focusrite Scarlett, whatever the hell it is, and this old microphone that I used to use for narration and voiceovers and stuff like that. So hopefully the audio should be a million times better. So anyway, enough about my fucking chutney. So today's video is going to be a little bit of a response to the amount of people who've been asking for an updated HPX, HVX scene files video. Now, I've done 2 videos where I've talked about the HVX, HPX scene files. One of them was a dedicated video that I did, I think in 2020, 2021 or something like that. And then the next one I did was the full hour-and-a-half long guide where I talked about the scene file video in there, and I talked a little bit more about what I'd learnt since video previously. But people have been asking about an updated video. They want to know what settings I'm using now. And to be fair, I understand why, because when I look back at the settings I had back in 2020, 2021, compared to now, I personally feel they're a little bit different now. So I'm going to go over the new ones that I've got. I'm also going to be telling you about my feelings towards scene files and some experiences that I've had with using these Panasonic cameras. And maybe I'll make some like kind of adjustments in my previous opinions and stuff like that. So I've got the HPX here. I'm actually recording on it right now, but I've got a better way to actually capture what you can see on the screen. So as you can see here, this is a Sony DSR-40 DV cam deck, which is for my DV cam broadcast camera. I might take it out and show you a bit later. So this has got, you know, Firewire, XLR, blah, 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 but it also has S-video and RCA in and out. So I can plug pretty much anything into the back of it, and it will spit out a DV signal. And the best part is I no longer have to use my HVX as a DV capture device, because that's how I was doing it for the longest time. This laptop here, which you can kind of see here, this Dell laptop, is what I was using to edit with, and it has no expandability whatsoever, has no Firewire ports, nothing like that. So to capture all my DV video, all the on-screen stuff that you saw for the HVX, HPX guide, was me taking a Firewire signal from this camera into another one, recording to P2, then dumping the P2 over USB. It was such a fucking faff, but now I can literally do it with this and a single cable. This computer cost me £40. Don't give me shit about it being a Mac. It was £40. And I've been editing podcasts on it, my YouTube videos, skate videos. I've been gaming on it. I have relatively modern games on it. It's a beast. It's a fucking beast. So don't give me shit. So anyway, I'm going to pause this, plug the camera in, and we're going to go through my updated scene files. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them because some of them haven't really changed. But I'll go through like the 1 or 2 that I do use often. So the first one that I use often is day 50. Now, as you can immediately see, there is no detail in camera going on. Now that's because these cameras tend to do a lot of over sharpening even at 0. So I don't have any sharpness in camera, and in fact, I don't go to the other extreme where I turn it off completely, because it just doesn't do a very good job. I know some people have it at like -7 and stuff like that, and they really soften it up. But for me, it's a bit too soft, and I worry with the low resolution of the sensor that it's just not gonna bring any actual detail back. It just looks kind of garbage. And I think, honestly, it's a little bit sneaky of Panasonic to call this detail, when in fact all it is just pixel sharpness. That's it. I guess some people could see the, oh, well, yeah, I want all the detail. But no, this isn't detail at all. This is just artificial sharpness. It's bullshit. Don't believe it. It's a joke. It's a joke. But anyway, I keep it at 0. Detail coring, discussed this in the previous videos. This is essentially noise reduction. Now, having too much noise reduction is bad because it softens the image. So if you have this all the way up and that, it's just going to look like a hot mess, as my early DVX footage used to look like. But then having it too low, and again, it just starts looking weird. I feel like it looks a little bit blotchy almost, like you start seeing like random pixels. It just doesn't look good. So I have a little bit of like noise reduction turned off, but not to the point where it's like excessive. Chroma level, this is your saturation, so I don't have it too high. +3 is fine. Anything above that starts looking a little bit garish. Some of the footage I've been filming recently on this camera, +3 looks pretty good. It looks like it's a nice punchy color, but not too much. Chroma phase, if you need to shift the color a little bit, then you can do it there. I don't tend to do this. Most of the time, it's okay. Maybe if you're using like artificial lights, like maybe filming in the dark, you know, and there's like street lamps and stuff like that, then you may want to throw a little bit of shift in there, just to kind of help with the color. But most of the time, it's okay as is. Color temp, I use this actually probably more than anything, because when you get your white balance, and you know, usually I have mine set at 0 as my baseline, and as you can see, it looks quite yellow there. But if I go in now and I shift that up by like 2 or 3, maybe 4, then it starts looking a lot more natural, which is what you want. Now, you could always, you know, actually get your white balance correct in camera, which is always a benefit. But if for some reason you just can't get it, maybe the light keeps changing or something like that, then a good thing you can try is just shifting the color temperature. This is kind of like what the VX has, where you can kind of make it more orange or blue. And then you can make it look like 2010 VX edits. Master pedestal, this is your black level. I used to call this contrast, which I don't think is very fair. It basically kind of just crushes the blacks. Now, this is already quite a somewhat contrasty camera. In the past, I used to believe of having it like at +6, you know, like really high, getting a very flat image. But when I realized you really can't get that much out of this camera, I mean, some people can, you know, they've got that ability. Like, I'm bringing it all the way up now to 100, and whilst, yes, it does look flat, you're not really going to want to try and grade this too much. It just looks kind of garbage. If you want a camera that can do log and, like, have a flat profile, buy a Panasonic S2. That's a fantastic camera, does beautiful footage, and shoots log. Or literally any other modern camera today can do log. If you want a flat profile, get a modern camera. You're not going to be... I don't think you should be shooting any kind of log on this, as I used to do, because I was an idiot. Anyway, AE iris level, 0, don't need to fiddle with that. DRS has actually been very useful. DRS came in very handy because we were starting a line off in the sun, and then towards the kind of middle section of the line, Joe the Skater was going into shade. So usually you'd have to adjust the exposure or maybe kind of fiddle around with the ND filter or something like that. But I found using DRS, you can kind of get away with not having to touch it at all. So you expose for the sun, and the DRS actually helps you get a usable image in the shadow, and you don't really need to adjust it at all. So I use that most of the time, depending on the situation. Gamma, B press, yeah, black press. Again, with the -6 master pedestal, honestly, doesn't look that bad. You know, I used to be all about that cine-like V, get the resolution and all that stuff. What's the point? It all looks the same. All HPX footage looks kinda shitty. It's not full HD, it's barely 720p. It looks terrible. So what's the point of worrying about the vertical resolution when it already and always will look kinda garbage? So B press for me. I mean, maybe in a situation where I want it to look more cinematic, maybe then I will try like cine-like V and get more of a kind of vertical, you know, just all those excuses, but chances are that's not gonna happen. Knee on auto, matrix norm 1, skin tone detail off, there we go. But yeah, that's the one that I use pretty much every day. So hopefully that was somewhat informative and maybe a little bit useful for you. Now, I wouldn't copy these, you know, exactly, because when I copied Scuba Steve's scene files from In Focus, while it was a good baseline to work off to see what like a pro filmer was using, I noticed that, in my opinion anyway, it seems to kind of depend on where you are in the world, because where Scuba Steve is, he was like in LA and all that stuff. You know, those scene files probably look pretty good in Los Angeles. But where I'm at in the UK, where it's currently looking like it's going to fucking thunderstorm, it just kind of looked a bit wacky, a little bit weird. So I really wouldn't recommend just copying someone's scene files like completely, because you might pop them in and you think, oh, that looks cool, but then after a while you start noticing that just it looks kind of off and you might not like it that much. So I highly recommend, you know, try them out. If you like them, start adjusting them a little bit. Maybe add a bit more master pedestal, maybe lower it, maybe a little bit less detail level, whatever it might be, just to kind of make it more for you. Make it your scene file. Don't just use someone else's, make it your scene file. Because otherwise, everyone's footage is just going to look the same, and it's going to look a little bit dull after a while. You know, because if you see, you know, with a VX1000, most VX1000 footage looks relatively similar. But at least with a HPX, you can kind of make it look quite unique. Don't go to, like, you know, Strobeck levels of like, oh, I'm going to make it pink, or whatever it might be. But, you know, just kind of have some fun with it. Just play around with it, you know, just make it yours. And all that shit. Even if you have, like, the worst looking burnt-in image with your scene file on your Panasonic camera, if it goes bad, to a certain level, you can bring it back. You can bring it back. I always felt like, yeah, you have to shoot flat and very, like, plain look, otherwise, you know, you're going to ruin it. And honestly, you can get away with it. You can get away with it. Maybe it was naive of me to believe that you couldn't. You know, I mean, it's a 422 camera. It's like, it's a professional camera. Surely there's got to be some level of wiggle room there in the color. So I'm really glad to have been proven wrong. And honestly, that was a learning experience, as is pretty much 99% of filming. It's always a learning experience. How can I film this differently? How can I get this looking the best I can? How do I fix this? You know, blah, blah, blah. There's always something to learn about it. And I think the moment you stop learning whilst filming, that's when they start showing in your work. So that was today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you've taken away something from this, whether it be the scene files or just some philosophy. If you don't know, I've been streaming. Now, before you worry, think, oh fuck, he's starting to stream Fortnite or something like that. No. In fact, I've been streaming editing sessions. So whenever I get some new footage, I'll be digitizing it live on Instagram. My username you'll find somewhere on the screen or whatever. And then sometimes I'll go on Twitch. Maybe I feel like playing a video game. Depends on how I feel, but I've been playing like Gran Turismo or something like that. So if you particularly want to hear this stupid idiot talking over a game whilst getting annoyed that he keeps losing, feel free to follow me in one of those fucking things in the description. If you've got any suggestions for videos, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to get to them. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please feel free to stick around for the next video, whatever the fuck that might be. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see me do some editing. Follow me on Twitch if you want to see me lose my mind at some fucking PS3 games. Or don't, it's up to you. I'm not particularly fussed. Anyway, I'm going to bugger off now. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.